And welcome to White Mountain Education Association's broadcast. Today we're celebrating Thanksgiving, even though it's a few days away. And so I'm going to be talking about the power of gratitude. Let me start with a quote by Shakespeare. It's very powerful. He says, "I hate ingratitude more in a man than lying, vainness, babbling, drunkenness, or any taint of vice whose strong corruption inhabits our frail blood." I know, it's a different language, but he got his point across. Living in a country like the United States, which provides an abundance not experienced in undeveloped countries like Eastern Europe, South and Central America, the Middle and Far East, and Africa, I sometimes see how we as a society are afflicted by thoughtless arrogance, and the spirit of gratitude has dimmed. I think back in the day when I had my first experience of being in India, and came home after that experience, and I would be so grateful and so sensitive to the abundance that we have in this country, in the United States, and of course in other countries as well, but it faded away. When I was in India, the grocery store was the size of a closet, and there are certain things you could not buy because these are open air markets, and the dirt and the dust and the pollution would affect anything that was not in a package, or it didn't have a banana peel on it, so you had to be real careful even in those small stores. And the dirt roads and environmental, there's no environmental practice whatsoever. It was just throw the garbage out on the street, dogs running crazy, doing their business wherever they wanted to. And that kind of changed my whole outlook of this beautiful vision I had of India and the Himalayan mountains. So we finally got to Darjeeling, and Darjeeling was a little better. It was a wealthier town, and of course Darjeeling is really well known for tea and the countryside where all the tea is grown, and that was pretty exciting, and then seeing the monasteries and the little children that were sacrificed by their parents to grow up in these monasteries, and you see these little kids, boys and girls, all boys were hand in hand going to the school, and actually education was also very focused there in Darjeeling. And that's when I was thinking of the little boys and girls. They're running up the hill in their little outfits and holding hands, and they're so cute. So that was the good side, of being in India. But in terms of when I came home, I thought, I'm going to be so grateful for everything that we have in this country. And pretty soon, I just went back to the old normal, why doesn't we only have 15 choices of bread. We need more. Yeah, so Thanksgiving for me is a day to remind myself of how grateful I am to live in a country that is developed and has abundance. Our mechanical, physical senses have become so saturated with expectation that we find it very forbidding and frightening to accept a condition of lack. At the first experience of deprivation, we will barter our bliss of spirituality in order to satisfy our earthly deprivation or lack. So what does it mean to barter our bliss of spirituality? It means that we throw away the essence of the teaching, that we throw away our time spent in service to others, that we throw away our gratitude, and we return to living a life of the ordinary person, empty of the spirit of gratitude. Now I'm going to share a story, one of my favorite stories about St. Sergius and his disciples. It's such a profound story, and it was given to us, and you can find it in a book called On Eastern Crossroads, written by Helena Rourke. She describes St. Sergius as one with a gray beard. She said his flaming spirit permeates all that he gives to others and performs in service. She describes how his disciples revere him and how they bow themselves before this mighty prince. As the story goes on, it says, "But should the bread cart be delayed, the beloved brethren cannot sustain their faith, even for a single hour. Should his purse be momentarily depleted, then the worthy and chosen brethren are ready to barter the wondrous bliss for a stranger's penny." One day the monastery was without bread for 2 days. Some of the monks commented to St. Sergius, "We have followed you, we have obeyed your orders, but tomorrow we're going to go look for food. We will not return because we cannot bear the poverty and lack of food in this place." St. Sergius responded through the words of Matthew, saying, "Therefore I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you shall eat or what you shall drink, nor about your body, nor what you shall put on. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they?" He told them that they were being tested. He stated, "Although you do not now have any bread, tomorrow God will give you all that you need." As he was talking to the monks, a person knocked on the door of the monastery, bringing 2 full carts of bread and food. St. Sergius did not eat anything, but went instead to thank God. Only after giving gratitude did he bless the bread and distribute them to the entire community. Isn't that beautiful? You can see why it's my favorite story about St. Sergius. There are many actually, but that's perfect for Thanksgiving and perfect for having come back from India and realizing what gratitude means to us on the broader sense. So how grateful we should be for the gifts that we enjoy. Absence of gratitude is the mark of the narrow, uneducated mind. It demonstrates a lack of spiritual knowledge and an ignorance of self-sufficiency. An absence of gratitude expresses itself in ugly egotism, anger, vanity, jealousy, and revenge. What does this mean? It means that people have grown into an expectation where they believe that they deserve this, that they deserve that they deserve a better car, that they deserve the perfect house, that somebody deserves to give them the perfect house, and that somebody else deserves to give them a new car, or a new this, or a new that. And I'm just recently experiencing this with a dear friend of mine who probably will be listening to this talk. And it it just blows my mind of what is being given to her. People that are giving and sharing in such a way to support her needs. And the response is, it's what I deserve. It's what I earn. And I think that that's just an example of what society as a whole has become. We have seen our beaches, our parks, our forests littered with ugly refuse by those who evidently have no appreciation for their beauty. We are creating so much ugliness in the world in which we live, and we're seeing the evidence in the disfiguration of the earth, the polluted waters and air. It is expressed in coarse language. When I think back to when I was a kid and when television first came out and we had 3 channels and it was all black and white and only ran maybe 2 or 3 hours, during the day or at night. And then it began to grow and we had movies and so forth. And I was just thinking about the language back in the day of the anchors, journalists, and the actors and actresses, and they were so refined. And so it's sort of like, what's the movie that's back on now? It's like, oh my God, I should not be talking about this. But it's back in the day, and it's like Downton Abbey, but it's not Downton Abbey.
Crown?
It's what?
The Crown?
The who?
The Crown?
The Crown. No, it's not The Crown. It's one other. I know you know it, Val. We were talking about it the other day. Anyway, they're dressed, the women, the way they dress, we could never do it today. But their language is so beautiful and refined, and that's my point. Coarse language today, we have become so used to it, as a society, that we don't even frown anymore. We just don't frown. It's terrible. Sloppy dress and manners, in a behavior that blemishes the beauty of the great ones, leaving scars in our heart. So those of us who are so sensitive to that, when we hear our grandchildren, and in my case, great-grandchildren, and, children of friends and so forth, when they're using language, these 4-letter words, as if, that's part of the language today, it hurts my heart. And when I see the way they dress with jeans that they've paid a lot of money for, but they have holes all the way from the top to the bottom, and they have tattoos and piercings and heavy makeup. The women wear hair, well, the men are too, and it's not refined. It's not refined. And so as a musician, my background is basically in music, and it's like coarse music for me, metal music for me, when I see our kids and even adults that are adapting to their children and the way they're behaving, that it hurts our heart, because it's not a reflection of the greatness of beauty. It just isn't. But with the spirit of gratitude, we can meet the challenges of each new day. Where there is appreciation and gratitude, there is consideration of others. Without gratitude, there is arrogance. Where there is gratitude, there is humility rather than pride. We know that each incarnation into the physical body, inevitably, what happens is it obscures our knowledge of the spirit, and it's like we have to learn it all over again. For example, Helena Rourke wrote, "It is indicated that Lucifer came to our earth together with the other high spirits who sacrificed themselves for the acceleration of the evolution of the planet, and its humanity. However, Lucifer was not the highest among his brothers. And when the time came for him to take on the earthly and dense sheaths, his spirit could not remain on the former height. In all the following ages, we see him as a fierce antagonist of his great brothers, who were continuously ascending into the glory of the light. Lucifer is now at the head of the dark brotherhood, which is very powerful, for it has co-workers among the masses over the entire span of the planet. So this is what happens when we see degeneration. You know, this is a story to remind us what is the difference between degeneration and regeneration and refinement of spirit, refinement of language, refinement of how we present our language, our creativity, our talents, our bodies to the world. We must express ourselves in the spirit of gratitude so we will ascend to the heights and not degenerate ourselves, our environment, and humanity. When we do not believe in the power of the spirit of gratitude, we easily fall into the snares set by the numerous agents of darkness. One of the most beautiful spiritual gifts we have to foil the masses of dark agents who try to trap the soul in matter is the spirit of gratitude. So it's like when I see one of my granddaughters with the piercings and the weird dressing and the heavy makeup and so forth, I just focus on I have two granddaughters, and they have beautiful eyes, bright eyes, and they are so sensitive to the environment, but they're not sensitive to their own beauty. And so that's what we must strive to do, is to express the spirit of gratitude, even though we see degeneration. We try to find something to evoke in them what they can be grateful for of what they have in themselves. So the spirit of gratitude is a divine gift. The spirit of gratitude is made of the very essence of Christ and the hierarchy of the planet. A great one once said that a person is equal to his or her gratitude. Gratitude is the highest form of respect. It means to appreciate and to give recognition to each other. It's like I was thinking when I came into the sanctuary today, we are so blessed to have a sanctuary, a building, and 2.5 acres of land that's all paid for. Everything is paid for, no debt. How can we not be grateful? It took 30 years to accomplish this, and another 25 years now to sustain it. Because you can't just take an accomplishment and say, I'm done. Now you have to sustain what you are and increase the beauty. So as I came into the sanctuary this morning and saw, the beauty of this incredible building and the sanctuary and all that it represents, how can we not walk into this sacred space without the spirit of gratitude? To be grateful is to have in your consciousness the good deeds and feelings and thoughts that you enjoy in others. It is feeling and expressing gratitude for everything in creation with which we are blessed. So gratitude is a way to express our blessings. We must be grateful to the opportunities presented to us. Every opportunity, whether it is painful or joyful, is a chance to increase the light within us. Through such opportunities, we build our foundation for the future. Just like St. Sergius was teaching his devoted disciples. So, for example, your spiritual teacher tells you that you have a vanity, or that you are behaving in an ugly way. What are you going to do? In today's society, to have a spiritual teacher that has the courage to make such a statement to us, we who live in a country of free speech, right? If you have the depth of heart and the sensitivity to the gift the teacher is giving to you, you will respect that gift with the spirit of attitude. Or you are going to place a false mask on your face with a smile and then turn your back to that guidance with a rumph. I don't know how to spell that, let alone say it, but I said it. It's like, it's a symbolism, you know, of who are you? Are you going to get mad at the teacher for his or her honesty, for doing their job? Or does your mechanical thinking say, who is that person to single me out when there are others who are a lot worse? Or will you have the spirit of gratitude for the time and attention your teacher is giving to you? Too often our arrogance reacts to the instructions of the teacher. When this happens, our behaviors will lead us into further problems, and the teacher may withdraw their guidance, leaving us to our own earthly devices. Helena Rourke writes, "It is said that each gratitude shown to the teacher indicates a right understanding of the teaching. But for the one for whom guidance is burdensome, there can never be any approach to the teacher. The teaching is not abstract, but gives the most practical suggestions for the application in life. Therefore, let us hold in our hearts all that it is said about the spirit of gratitude, and let us watch the purity of our thoughts and actions. When we lose the spirit of gratitude, we become critical of others and condemn their actions. Helena Rourke states, from continuous repetitions of criticism and condemnation, calluses will appear on the brain. And then how can one achieve the broadening of consciousness? See, the thing is, when we recognize the degeneration of society, we fail to recognize that we ourselves are part of that society. And if we're not careful, if we're not practicing the spirit of gratitude through observation and sensitivity, we become pulled into that river of coarseness, that river of degeneration, until what we think we stand for has disappeared. Our soul has disappeared. And we become part of the degenerating forces without even realizing it. We become exposed to coarse language. We become exposed to criticism. We become exposed to the state of the existence of the world as it's given to us through the concrete mind of the media, and pretty soon our thoughts turn from the thoughts of the spirit of gratitude to the thoughts of anger and fear. So when we lose the spirit of gratitude, we become critical of others and condemn their actions. The teacher wants to see us apply the spirit of gratitude to the opportunities given to us with solemnity and sincerity. The Great One also said, in the teaching it is said that the flame of devotion and gratitude is above all other fiery offerings. But alas, these two qualities are particularly rare among the inhabitants of this planet. If we do not know how to express our gratitude, we will never digest the things that we receive. Thanksgiving is celebrated to educate people in the science of creating right human relations among family members, groups, and nations. The people of the world must make an effort to celebrate a Thanksgiving Day and where they meet each other in the spirit of gratitude, appreciation, and respect, and with future visions for all of humanity. Imagine the President of the United States inviting the leaders of Russia and China and England and France and others for a Thanksgiving dinner to have a day of joy, a day of gratitude, respect, and future vision. Imagine the occupiers sitting down with the decision makers of the U.S. and international banks and mortgage lenders and corporate CEOs working out a plan for the future. I think there is something so subtle but definitely felt about Thanksgiving that is in the air. There is something beautiful around us and within us. My son and I will celebrate Thanksgiving this year. For several days now, actually a few weeks, he has suggested ideas of how we can celebrate Thanksgiving this year in a new way, being together with friends and not being sad about those who are no longer with us or about our Thanksgivings of the past. He is joyful and looking forward to this year's celebration, which makes me joyful, of course. He does not think of the past Thanksgiving celebrations with the family members who have passed, but of the joy of this year's celebration. And of course it adds, like I said, joy to my heart as well. What is the root of this joy? It is gratitude. When millions of people think and feel along the same lines of gratitude, they can even change the weather and inner psychology of the masses. So Thanksgiving Day is a day in which we must take special care of each other without expectation or diplomatic hypocrisy. This is an idea that will be understood and practiced by those who are stepping onto the path of transformation. We advance on the spiritual path only when we begin to really care for others. A number of years ago, I sat down to a Thanksgiving dinner with my teacher, Torkim. It was such a special experience. It was very cold that year, and it had just snowed in Sedona, requiring us to drive through the switchbacks from Flagstaff to Sedona. In fact, this was such a special time because we had decided to move from Florida to Arizona. And so we had flown from Phoenix into, actually I think we flew into Phoenix and drove from Phoenix up to Prescott, and then we began to look all over the state trying to find the best place to move White Mountains headquarters. And so it was during the winter months, and so Torquem called me and he said, I would like to invite you to share Thanksgiving dinner with us. So if you can imagine, so coming from Florida, where cold was like 75, sometimes 80 felt cold. And so here we are driving from Prescott up to Flagstaff and down to Sedona, and there were black ice and snow was coming at us, and we were like late. We had no idea how to drive in the snow, and not to mention black ice. So by the time we got there and knocked on the door, and he opened the door with this biggest hug and smile and said, welcome. You can imagine what kind of a dinner that Thanksgiving was. And the whole afternoon was spent with him. It was such a time of joy. I still am grateful for that moment to be with him. When you see a family in which the members do not care for each other, the disintegration of that family is very close at hand. The same is true with groups and nations, and even with humanity as a whole. Thanksgiving Day is a day in which the restoration of the heart can take place in the joy of gratitude and caringness. It is a day in which we should encourage those who give. It is very important to let the givers know that they are doing a noble service for humanity. It's like I was thinking as I was putting the talk together about the members of the White Mountain Educational Group all sacrifice themselves in so many ways, but mainly they sacrifice their talents. Rather than earning money with their talents, they give their talents, their energy to the work of the group. They spend hours upon hours publishing, editing, translating, developing indexes. I remember one of our committees that's just finally wrapping up to publish a book that was written actually by, the contents of the book was written by Helena Rourke. And it was all in Russian, and they had to translate this 700 and some page Russian book, and they met every single Saturday. Imagine that. Imagine taking your Saturday to do something for somebody else, Saturday after Saturday after Saturday. We are so blessed for the givingness. And not just that, they give their earnings, they give their income, they give so much. And it's not that they're giving to the group, but they're giving to the work of the group that goes out into serving those in the spiritual community. How can you not have the spirit of gratitude for such people? So giving builds bridges and creates better relationships. Giving allows divine abundance to flow and to spread joy and health and beauty. And encouraging people to give, we become givers. We have seen so much of this in the group today. Every kind of success originates from the spirit of givingness. A hero is a person who gives. I was thinking, I just had the opportunity to be a presenter at a conference in Italy on Zoom, in my case, and became very much aware of how one of the women in that very large group was so dedicated with her time and energy of helping to develop and to make that conference a success, that I will never forget all that she gave to us to make the presenters' job easier, to help us work better with Zoom, to become secure in those. We had like about 150 people attending that conference, and she was never daunted by it. And when there are some things she said I didn't understand, and I would send a note back to her, and she responded with such graciousness. This is a giver. And she herself was a presenter in the conference, and yet she was on the other side also a worker, a volunteer. The greatest leader is one who gives all that she or he has. The greatest artist is one who gives the highest that he or she is. Rumi wrote, "Be grateful for your life, every detail of it, and your face will come to shine like a sun, and everyone who sees it will be made glad and peaceful." He says, persist in gratitude, and you will slowly become one with the sun of love, and love will shine through you. It's all healing joy. The path of gratitude, he said, is not for children. It is the path of tender heroes, of the heroes of tenderness, who, whatever happens, keep burning on the altar of their hearts the flame of adoration. Remember, Master M said, great is the healing power of the emission of gratitude. This emission is produced within our glands, within our etheric, astral, and mental centers. And as a luminescent substance, it radiates out from our aura. When we express gratitude to our teacher, we build a communication line between the teacher and ourselves. The communication line gives us a closer contact with the teacher, whose consciousness, light, and energy gradually pour into our being. The gates are those entrances that are found between levels of the planets and also between the planes. Our communication with the teacher passes through these gates, which gradually open as we strive toward the teacher in gratitude. So what we as a group, the White Mountain Education Association group, does, we try to express our gratitude to our great teachers. And one of the ways that we do it concretely is through the publication of Agni Yoga Quarterly. This has been a many-year project for us to find content for the journal that expresses the hard work and labor of Nicholas and Helena Rourke and their relationship with their teacher, and then the relationship of the Rourke students or disciples with their teacher, the Rourkes, so that when people find the path of Agni Yoga and find that there is a spiritual community all over the world, they can open up this journal and learn about the startup of the Agni Yoga Society and the hard work and the sacrifice and the trials and tribulations that the Rourkes went through. And it was great. And how they expressed during all of this their gratitude to their great teachers, like their students and disciples express gratitude to them. And you read this, you sense this, you feel this in the writings of Agni Yoga Quarterly. So Thanksgiving is a day that we can remember those who have shared their blessings with us. When this is done, a network of electrical webs of gratitude will be built around the globe that will protect humanity for many problems and evils. You must remember your first teachers, then your parents, then your friends, then all those who helped you and shared their blessings with you. Send them your love and gratitude, and in doing this you will notice that in the meantime that you will get rid of most of your pride and your vanity, and instead replace it with a deep sense of humility and recognition of the value of others. So that's the Thanksgiving talk for today, and I hope it's made a difference and will make a difference in the coming days, and especially on the day of Thanksgiving.